driving the car.
It just happened. I've just got so much shit like to do. But yeah, I'm literally 1 minute from home. I'm gonna sit on my desk and just super pumped.
Yeah.
I think my father been here as well. Alright, my guys in the WhatsApp bro, they're joining in a sec. Well, I think Yoni's not gonna make it, bro. But I think he's Jewish, so today's got like a Sabbath, so he can't make it.
He's Jewish?
Yoni's Jewish, yeah.
Didn't know that.
So that's why he's probably not gonna make it, because now like they don't allow on Sabbaths for people to work.
Yeah. Is he like originally from UK?
He's Jewish living in China.
Nice combination, yeah.
He's speaking like clear English. Like, is he from UK?
Yo, Alexander, can you tag Aryan and James and everyone to join up? Because I'm driving right now. Get that for me.
No worries.
Just tag all the boys to join up. Jonathan, tag Jonathan as well. He might join. Appreciate it, bro. Bear with me, apologies for the delay.
No, it's all good, bro. So it's my last call of the day anyway, so it's all right.
Proper entrepreneur, bro.
Course, back to back. I've had about half a dozen calls and double that in coffee, so if I'm a bit jittery, that's probably why.
Oh, good, bro. We're on the coffee grind here.
I'm glad.
Yo, what's up, guys?
Hello.
Yo, what up, man?
Yo.
Yeah, I don't know if James and Yoni are joining. I don't know about them.
Are you from the UK, man?
Myself. That's correct, yeah. Unfortunately, I'm sure there's many other better places I could be from. But yeah, initially. Where else is everyone else from?
Serbia, Iraq, and Bulgaria.
Yeah.
That is an interesting mix of people.
Yeah, very.
Martin Goras International.
International, exactly. Yeah. I'm from near London, living in Vietnam. It's a bit of a weird mix there as well, but yeah, man. Yes, some great people on here.
How's Vietnam? How's it treating you?
It's amazing. It's a beautiful place. It's kind of like Thailand, but with less prostitutes. So, you know, every cloud's got a silver lining. It's not too bad. Great place. Weather's lovely. I can't complain.
Nice.
Okay. That's close to China, right? I'm pretty sure.
I think so, just because there's a crazy amount of Chinese tourists here. So probably, but...
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was under, it got colonized by China in the past or something. And they hate it when you call them Chinese.
I wouldn't be surprised. I've spoke to a few people here, and apparently they've just got this weird hatred for Chinese people. So that would make a lot of sense.
Yeah, exactly. Yes. Yeah, we have one guy called Yanni. He's living in China, so.
All right, boys.
Oh, yeah. Right. I mean, I'm happy to get into it. If anyone else joins midway through, let them in, but make them do some push-ups or some shit. I don't know. There's got to be consequences for joining this late. Right.
Yeah, but I always do. We have an accountability every week. We set goals. Whoever doesn't do them, 100 push-ups per task.
I'm the same. Whenever people don't send an end-of-day report or they're late to a coaching call, you're dropping down and give me at least 200 before I even start coaching you. Right. Let me know when you can all see my screen, please.
Yep.
Yes.
Okay. Right. So, the setter's identity, building the operator mindset. We're going to get into what that means in a minute, but let's just go in. So the intention, the promise for this session is by the end, you understand, for one, why your self-image controls your consistency. Two, how to detach from emotion and anchor to the process, anchor to the stuff you know you need to do in an actionable sense. Learn how to turn discipline into dopamine and to write your setter identity statement and embody it daily. Once more, we'll get into what that means. If any of this is a bit vague, a bit you're not really understanding it, it will come later on. There will be many points within this call where, you know, I refer to you if there's any questions you want to have, if there's something you want to input, be my guest. But at the end, presuming we have time, I'm happy for anyone to have any questions regarding the PowerPoint or anything else external. So if there's any questions at any point, write them down, or when I ask questions or when I pick on someone, then, you know, feel free to share. It's the operator mindset. What does that even mean? What is the operator mindset? So it means high ROI thinking. And that's not just within your work, that is everything. Systems, emotion, time, no actions without return. Right, so it's a very important thing that if you want to adopt an operator mindset, it's understanding how to be efficient in all facets of life. Understanding, okay, how can I optimize this, right? Because it's not just about how do I show up and put in really good work and be consistent and work hard. That's a factor, but it's not what an operator is overall. You know, so it's about optimizing every single aspect of your life. So I want you to ask yourself truly, where are you bleeding energy for no gain? Ask yourself truly, where are you just doing things without thinking about the long-term result of it? Where are you just doing things where, you know, you could actually optimize it? Because once more, every single thing you do within your life, it correlates to your work. It correlates to the money you earn. It correlates to how much your women respect you. It correlates to the shape you're in. Everything is all tied in together. So if you start adopting the mindset of, you know, how can I make this the highest ROI possible? How can I make my time more efficient? How can I make my schedule more efficient? How can I make the time I spend with my girlfriend more efficient? But for example, if I use that, if your girlfriend doesn't respect you, if your girlfriend isn't very caring and affectionate when you're around her, what can you do if you think in a high ROI way? What can you do to make her like you more? Maybe spend less time with her. Maybe start flirting with one of her friends. I don't know. Maybe don't do that, because if your girlfriend starts coming at you, that's on you, not me, right? But my point is, you must think about all things in, okay, well, how can I optimize this to the best of my ability? Because that will translate directly into your work in a way that you maybe don't even comprehend. Self-image. Self-image creates output. This is so very important, because you never rise to your goals, you fall to your identity. It's the same thing when people say to you, you don't rise to the level of your aspirations, you fall to your systems. It's the same with identity, because you can't establish and maintain systems if you don't have an identity, right? So when your work ethic or KPIs are doing well, that is a mirror of your self-belief. When they're not doing well, that's also a mirror of your self-belief. Understand the way you perceive yourself has a direct correlation to the work you do, to the way people perceive you, to the way you carry yourself. All of this is tied in together. Some of you may know this, some of you may not. A lot of you are very, you know, you're people, you're on a specific path in life. You know what you want out of life. You know you're destined for more. You know you want good things out of life. You know you want to be a man of substance, right? So to an extent, you have good self-belief. You have good self-perception. But understand, if things within your life are not going the way you want them to, there's a lack of congruency here. There's a lack of congruency between the two. So I want you to understand the concept as well, that when you clock into work, when you start DM setting, when you start dialing, when you start doing whatever the fuck it is you do, you must clock into this version of yourself. You know, so if you don't decide who that is, your emotion will. Maybe if you're feeling a bit tired, maybe if you're frustrated, maybe if you're upset, all of this will show in your work. And that doesn't just mean you'll start having slower conversations. It means you'll resent the conversations more. It means you'll notice the prospects are being a little bit more bitchy. You'll notice they're being a bit more vague with their replies. You're not being able to qualify them as well. You know, you're not nurturing people in the right way to get them on a call, primed and ready to buy, because you are allowing your emotion to dictate how you feel, because you don't have an external identity when you clock in. You know, so Kobe Bryant, he was an amazing basketball player. He had this thing called Mamba mentality, right? Where when he sort of stepped into this identity, when he stepped onto the basketball pitch, he was this person. You know, he had this Mamba mentality, and he was a completely different person to outside of the pitch. He was a completely different person. So ask yourself, who do you become when you clock in? Do you wake up out of bed and pick up your phone and start replying to messages? Or do you wake up and decide, okay, I know exactly how I want to show up today. I know the person I want to be. I know the identity that I want to have when I start my work today. I'm going to become that person. Or once more, do you wake up? Do you roll over, grab your phone, maybe scroll for 10 minutes, and then go, okay, I'm going to reply to my client's messages now? Because it reflects, it's all tied in together. I'm going to keep saying this because it's so incredibly true. It's not just if you don't step into this work identity. It's not just, oh, you're going to get less bookings. It's not just, oh, people aren't going to be as enticed to talk to you. You're going to make less money. We're all here because we want to make money, right? We're all here because we want to be better people. We're all here because we want something from ourselves. So if you're not giving yourself the best opportunity to make the most money, to get the best results, and to become the best version of yourself you possibly can, then what the fuck are you doing? You're just doing it passively. You're just kind of taking lottery tickets every day and just hoping that one strikes, and you're hoping, I get a qualified call today. I'm hoping that someone closes. But if you actively choose every day, okay, I'm going to become this person, and I'm going to adopt this identity, I'm going to adopt this mentality, same way Kobe Bryant did. He wouldn't have been as fucking good as he was if he didn't step into this identity. If he hadn't stepped into this version of himself of, no, this is who I am when I'm on the pitch. This is why I'm so good. And every single day before I go and play, before I have my games, I'm going to step into this identity. I'm going to become this person. If he didn't do that, he may have never achieved the level of success that he did. So ask yourself, who do you become when you clock in? Truly. Detach from the outcome. This is very, very important. Once more, this is a concept I'm sure many of you will be familiar with, especially if you've been appointment setting for a little while now. If you're new, maybe not as much, because I understand it can be very easy to have a conversation with a prospect. And maybe you go back and forth with them over the course of a few days. Maybe you qualify them and then they disappear. Maybe, you nurture them in a way where you spend so much time and attention making sure they're nurtured correctly, and then they disappear or they become rude or whatever else happens. But you must never allow that to affect your worth. You must never allow that to affect this identity that we just talked about. Because your job is inputs. It's not outcome. Your job is something you can control the work you do, but you can't control the money you earn. There are 1,000,001 different variables that go into making money as an appointment setter. Whether you're doing DM setting, whether you're dialing, it really does not matter what you do, but you are only in control of your outputs. Even as a business owner myself, I'm only in control of my outputs. I have a business, and yes, that's great, and I could get frustrated about the income, but there's no point, because the only thing that I can control are the inputs. Am I doing the right stuff to ensure my content's getting pushed out? Am I ensuring that I'm delivering the highest results I possibly can to my clients? Am I ensuring I'm doing the right things I need to do to work on client attrition day to day? Because even if I'm earning no money and everything's going to shit and it's a terrible month for the business, if I'm doing these three things, I'm okay. And I know that once more, I have this identity. Because I know that I don't care about the outcome. I care about the inputs. I care about, am I doing everything in my power? And am I living up to my own version of this Mamba mentality to get the results I want to get? It's not about how many closes you've got. It's not about how many qualified bookings you've got. It's about, are you doing the inputs you know you need to do? I'm telling you now, the moment you detach, you free your mind to execute. It becomes so much easier. My first ever offer, I was on it for 3 months. I had no income. It was cold outbound of my personal profile, which, by the way, I'd never fucking recommend. Never do that. Ever, ever, ever. Right? But I was cold outbound of my personal profile. Some days I'd do up to 500 DMs a day. But when I detach from the outcome, when I detach from, I need money, I need bookings, I need this, I need that, it unlocked such a heavy momentum within my workflow. It enabled me to live up to these crazy expectations I put myself for months on end, because I didn't care. I didn't care if someone booked in. I didn't care if they were financially qualified. I didn't care if they closed. Obviously, I cared to an extent, but I didn't care in a sense of, it didn't affect the way I perceived myself. It didn't affect my identity. It didn't affect everything else, because once more, I kept this identity intact. I preserved it. I ensured that my identity was exactly where I needed it to be. And that is what enabled me to end up becoming an incredibly competent appointment setter and all the other offers I've been on beyond that. So I'm going to tell you now, like, for example, David Goggins. Here's this thing that he refers to. It's called his cookie jar. So every single time anything's too hard, anytime he feels like, I can't do this, he reminds himself, what have I already done that's very hard? What are things I have accomplished? What are things I have achieved? And every single time he feels like giving up, every single time he's getting too attached to the outcome and he's getting frustrated and upset and whatever else, he goes back into his cookie jar and he pulls one out and he looks at it and he goes, I've done this before. This was very hard. And he pulls out another one. He goes, I went through this. This was a very difficult experience. But now I'm here. Now I'm on the other side. Now I am this person. And I can do this because I've done all of this stuff before. So what is your own version of the cookie jar you can create? When you feel like you can't detach from the outcome, when you feel like you're getting too mad because your bookings aren't closing, when you feel like I'm doing everything in my power but I'm not making the money I need to make, relax. Take a step back. Chill. And then remember, okay, well, I've done this before and I survived it. I achieved this before and that was pretty fucking cool. I am this person. This is my identity. This is who I am internally. And that's why I don't care about the outcome. I don't care about this. I don't care about that, because all I care about is living up to the identity I have for myself and ensuring my inputs stay exactly where they need to be. Dopamine control. This is very important. I talk a lot about this with a lot of my clients, with a lot of communities I do speaking for. I'm very big on emphasizing you must understand dopamine and how it affects your brain. If you don't already understand what dopamine is, I'd highly suggest you go out your way to go and watch a video or two to understand, because it's the driver behind everything you do in life. Your dopamine, it's a hormone within your brain, and it gets affected by so many things that you do in life. It's a positive hormone. When you scroll on your phone, that's dopamine. When you eat bad food, that's dopamine. You know, for example, little things, you know, pornography and gambling. They're as popular as they are because they give your brain so much dopamine. So understand that, okay, well, if dopamine is a chemical that makes me motivated, if dopamine is a chemical that makes me want to do the difficult things when I receive it, how can I actually give myself dopamine from working? And another point contrary to this that I don't have on here is understand as well that if you are getting cheap dopamine from every other thing in your life, but not from your work's going to become very, very hard to do. For example, when I was on that offer and I was doing up to 500 DMs a day, that was 4 to 8 hours of cold DMs a day. That was fucked. But it was very hard for me to do on the days where maybe I ate bad food. Maybe I played video games. Maybe I spoke to Join. Maybe I watched porn. On the days that I did these things that gave me cheap dopamine, that was free and easy and quick, the work became so hard to do. But not just that, I operated at a level that was so much below what I know I'm capable of. So understand, okay, well, if I'm getting cheap dopamine from other things, how can I cut that out to make my work more rewarding? Okay, I've cut out more of the cheap dopamine. How can I now make myself gain dopamine from the work I do? So gamify your grind, you know, and measure it as well, because discipline feels better when you measure it. And what I mean by gamifying your grind is mini timers, micro wins, and that'll create loops of momentum. For example, here, Duolingo streak design. I don't know how many of you have ever used Duolingo before, but I know I've used it many a times. And the reason why it works so well to be able to enable users to stay consistent with learning a language, or to be able to have such a high user attention rate, is because they've gamified it. If you've ever used Duolingo, you'll know. It's like a little game. You have little missions you do, and then you go to like a next chapter, and there's more, and it's fun and it's engaging because it gives your brain dopamine. It makes you want to learn. They've gamified what their user experience looks like. So how can you do that with your work? You know, can you set little timers and give yourself a mini reward at the end of the timer? Maybe your mini reward is going for a work. Maybe if you really enjoy going to the gym, you can set a deep work timer and say, okay, I'm going to go to the gym after. And what would you know? You do the hard work, the timer goes off, you go to the gym, you get a flood of dopamine, you go, oh my God, that was amazing. I want to do that tomorrow. I'm not saying you have to use these specific examples, but whatever you enjoy doing in life, think, okay, well, how can I leverage the hard work to sort of earn this thing that I know gives me dopamine, because I know I enjoy it, because that will subsequently make me want to enjoy the work a lot more. It will make me want to do whatever I want to do, even if I don't want to. For example, if you hate the work, if you don't want to do the work, but if you gamify it so you get dopamine from doing so, suddenly you love the work. Suddenly it's fun. And all of this, understand, all of this isn't just about appointment setting. With whatever you do in life, maybe you stay a setter, maybe you become a setter manager, closer, maybe you even create your own offer one day. Doesn't matter. This is applicable to you with whatever you do in life. Everything. So ask yourself, you know, truly, what metric makes you feel the dopamine of winning the day? what can you use to be able to measure, okay, well, I've won today and this is going to give me dopamine. For example, some of my clients, I get them to write 3 tasks that they prioritize every single day. And once they're all done, guess what happens? Yes, it reinforces that, okay, well, I'm doing well. I'm doing the right things. I'm going in the right direction. But it gives them dopamine. And it's a level of dopamine that they feel like, oh, fuck, that was amazing. I want to win tomorrow as well. I want tomorrow to be an amazing day. Because their brain is receiving this dopamine from the stuff that they're doing. So think about, how can I actually implement this into my own life? Because understand, if you don't already have an understanding of dopamine, once more, I'd recommend go watch a video. But anything that gives you pleasure in life is dopamine. Even me, I enjoy taking these calls. I enjoy coaching calls. That gives my brain dopamine. Doesn't matter what it is. This coffee, I like coffee, right? This gives me dopamine because it's something I enjoy. So think, okay, well, how can I actually leverage this chemical to make myself want to do the difficult things more? This is so important. The value of your work. If you're an appointment setter, it doesn't matter what you do. Whether you're a DM setter, I know it says it there, but whether you're a DM setter, a phone setter, it doesn't matter. You are the oxygen for the business. This is you. You are this setter down here. And without you, what happens? The closers don't close. The business owner makes no money. The whole tower comes crashing down. So understand just how valuable your work is. You are not a task doer. You're not someone that just shows up, replies to DMs, or takes phone calls. You are arguably one of the most important assets the business has. Really and truly, you are. You know, so you must attach value to the mission, not how you feel, not the mood. You know, for reference, Alex Hormozy always says volume is the price you pay for clarity. There was actually maybe a reason why that's there, but I've completely forgot in what correlation that has to the point I'm making here. But it relates somehow. I'm sure if I wasn't half a dozen coffees deep, I would understand how to expand on that. But hey ho, we're here. Reflection. So you need to ask yourself, you know, how would you show up? How would you work if you believed every message truly kept the company alive? Would you feel more enticed to work? Would you feel like you want to show up in a way that you don't show up now? You know, how would your work ethic change? You know, because truly, if you understand that, okay, well, I'm not just someone that's getting paid to do this. I'm not just someone that's just replying to DMs. I'm the oxygen for this business. I am this bottom card that is so monumentally important for this business making money. I am so important. Because if you adopt this, and once more, you adopt it into your identity, which we were talking about earlier, that will translate into the work you do. You'll work more. You'll want to work more. You'll work more efficiently. You'll work more smarter. You'll be more surgical with the work you do. So understand, you know, if I believed every message truly kept the company alive, what would change? So, action slide. This is something I want everyone to do this, to be honest, because at the end of the day, it can be a paragraph or it can be a whole page. And Martin, you know, even be on this call, I want you to ensure that everyone's held accountable to this, but this is important.
I'll do it myself as well.
Perfect. Whether you use it or not, it's important to write this out. Because a lot of this stuff, it's not about affirmations or, you know, this is who I want to be. That's important to some extent, but this is important because it gives you that external identity of, okay, well, before I work, this is who I want to be. So I'll read it out, whether you're a fast reader or not. You may have read it already, but an example could be, I am someone who executes no matter how I feel. You can write loads of sentences like that. I am this type of person. I am this type of person. I never do this. I never do this. I always show up to the best of my ability. Whatever it may be. You know, this must define who you show up as, who you show up as when you clock in. On sport, it can be a paragraph, it can be a whole page, but the more vivid you envision that high-performing operator version of yourself, the easier it will be to review the document before work and align your thought process with that elevated version of yourself. So it's very, very important we get so clear on who do I want to be when I clock in? Who do I want to be when I start replying to DMs? Who do I want to be when I start calling leads up? You know, it can be like, say, for example, you're a dialer. I'm very calm and composed whenever I call up leads. I never chase a lead. I simply qualify and nurture correctly. You know, I know the work I do brings immense value to the business and the prospects I'm contacting. You can make so many different points about, okay, this is what I do, this is the belief system I have, this is the way I show up. And this is so important because once more, it's not just I'm telling you to write this for the fucking sake of it. No, you may write this and never use it. But at least if you ever feel like I don't want to do the work today or nothing's going the way I want it to, you have something to reference. You have something you can look at and understand. This is who I am when I'm working. This is the person I want to be. And then you can start aligning yourself with that version of yourself. It's the same way with so many people. They get you to write out what you want out of life. Get you to get very clear on the vision you have for your future. This is the same thing. But this is your work. And this is equally as important because even I have something similar. It's myself. And I make every single one of my clients write something similar. Not as a setter identity sheet, but as a discipline identity sheet. Where it's near enough the same premise, but just in all facets of their life. My one for my personal life, it says things like, I always say whatever comes to my mind when I see strangers. For example, if I'm out in public and I see someone, they've got a cool hat. Because I've reinforced, okay, this is who I am. I'll say, hey man, nice cool hat. They could look at me and think, what the fuck does this shiny-headed guy want? I don't care. Because that's who I am. This is my identity because I've reinforced it so much. And it's why it's so incredibly important because this is equally more important than the one I have. Because this puts money in your pocket. This puts money in the business owner's pocket, and this makes you fucking invaluable. This makes you irreplaceable. This makes you stand out from every other setter they could have ever possibly had. That's why this is important. Not because I want you to sit there writing affirmations. Not because I want you to sit there filling out a document as a piece of homework. And I want to explain this to you because some of you would probably think, well, what is the fucking point? Why am I doing this? This is why. This is why it's so important, and it must get done. Whether you use it or not, you can do a sentence. You can do a whole page. The more detail you have, the more vivid this vision of yourself will be, the easier it will be to stay aligned, the better results you'll get, the more money you'll make, the more your life will improve. So yeah, the next slide is simple. I'm going to end it after this and we go on to the call. But what are your 3 takeaways? It says drop them in chat, but there's not a crazy amount of people on this call. So I want to hear it from each of you one-on-one. So what I'm going to do now, let me stop sharing. Yeah, okay. Right, let me go on to here. Okay, please. I want you to share your takeaways. Everyone, I'm on at least 3. 3 takeaways. If you don't share, I am going to pick on you. So please, whoever wants to speak first. Yeah, I saw that hand go up.
Right. So, key takeaways. First of all, detach from the outcome and focus on what you can put in your inputs.
Why is that?
Meaning, because if you don't make money, let's say, obviously, if you don't make money, you're putting in your input, but you're still not making money. Obviously, there's multiple different variables, like the closer not closing, or the clients just, not wanting to pay because they believe courses are scams. You won't be like in a mental, in a mental state where you're like, oh fuck, what do I do here? And you just won't be contemplating life.
Yeah.
My next key takeaway would be again, if you feel which I resonated with, if you feel your work is hard and you're not enjoying your work, try to dopamine. I don't know how to say. Try to get dopamine from it basically. Gamify it, and then once you get dopamine from it, you'll want to you'll enjoy it more, and you'll want to work more and more, which is obviously a positive impact. And one more key takeaway was yeah think about the version of you, the setter who's making 6K a month, because that's what I'm going for, that's what I'm aiming for this month. Think about the version of you that's making 6K a month. Like, how would he work? Would he wake up and scroll like TikTok, Instagram, or would he just wake up, get to it, put in the actions that he needs to, and put in the inputs? Think of it like work in that state of mind.
Perfect. I'm going to go to someone else in a minute. Really good takeaways there. I like them a lot. I like the context behind it. I'm going to quickly give you one example of how I used to leverage dopamine with my work, right? Because it's very important, I think, that I give you a tangible example because it kind of seems a bit vague, right? But before I moved to Asia, I wanted to move to Asia for years. So before I did, when I was on this offer, I was having to spend so long every single day doing cold DMs, hours and hours on end doing cold DMs. What I would do is I would go, okay, how can I gain dopamine from doing this work that I really don't want to do. So every single time I'd sit down to do DMs, I'd have a video playing. And these videos would always be vlogs of people living in Thailand or living in Vietnam. Because then I'm doing the work. I'm getting dopamine because I'm going, okay, this is what I'm working towards. This is what I want. But I would only watch them when I'm working. And that made it so incredibly good because every time I'd work, I'd be excited to work because I'm excited to get dopamine from these videos. But I also know that I have such a strong identity around I'm a man of my word that I would only watch them videos when I'm working. Right? Because I had this identity of, okay, well, I mean what I say and I say what I mean. If I say to myself, I'm only going to watch these videos to get dopamine from my work, I'd stick to that. And henceforth, it was so efficient. But if you can't stick to your word, it won't be efficient. So once more, you kind of have to make trade-offs. As I said earlier, if there's stuff you enjoy, think about, okay, how can I trade this off to start leveraging it with my work? Because I could have watched Thailand vlogs when I'm not working, but I chose not to because I thought, you know what, it's way more important that I leverage this within my work. So yeah, just thought I'd give you an example. Who wants to share next, please?
I can go.
Go ahead.
So the first one that I didn't understand until now is you're the fuel to this business, which is really, really correct. I don't know why I didn't think of it that way. So that's the first one that shocked me really good. The other one is mindset of the return of on the investment. When you gotta see everything that you do, hanging with friends, the training, working, everything. You gotta see the long run, what does it bring to your life. And the last one is detaching from the result. So that's also a big one because nothing is made overnight. You gotta work, you gotta work, you gotta work. You don't see shit, but one time, one point, everything is gonna be there. Yeah.
Good observation, bro. I like that. Alexander, how are we?
Don't be shy.
Yep. So the first one is, of course, we're on the rise to our goals, but we fall to our identity. This is a big one. I mean, I've tried creating this type of identity in the past, but haven't really stick to it, to be honest, before. So this is something I want to do after this call, is basically really sit and think about it for some time. What is the identity that I want to have in my work, for example, in my life as a whole? This is a big one. Yeah. The second, I would say, is as Bata mentioned, the value of your work. So there's been times in the past where I've struggled to realize that the setter position is actually important to a business. There's been times where I'm thinking, oh, fuck this shit, I'm just typing some messages, whatever, some teenagers from some guy's account pretending to be him, whatever. So yeah, this is a big one as well. And the third is, of course, rewarding yourself for doing the work. I like doing it, for example, by if I put myself, for example, certain tasks I need to do this day. And if I achieve them, if I achieve those tasks, a thing I love to do is watch movies, for example. So this night, I'm going to set away 1 hour, 2 hours, whatever, and I'm going to watch a movie I want. And this just reinforces me for the day after, Now, the next day, again, I want to do the task so I can watch a movie again or stuff like that.
I'm glad, bro. I'm glad. It's very important, once more, if you can leverage these things you enjoy, do it, because it'll make the work so much more enjoyable. And I neglected that for a very long time. With other work before I started setting, I try and brute force my way through it. But unfortunately, you can't always do that. You have to make it enjoyable. So with what you're saying there, if you can leverage, okay, well, I've done the work today, so I'm going to watch a movie because I love watching movies. Amazing. Do that, because then you're going to feel like, you know what, I've earned this. Just make sure you're very careful with if you say to yourself, I have to do this work to earn a movie, and you don't do the work, you have to be honest. Because if you're never honest, I'm not saying you wouldn't be, but if someone's not honest with themselves, then suddenly it stops working as a treat. It stops working as, okay, well, I'm leveraging this as a reward, because the second you disobey your own word or promise, it stops being an exchange of work reward, and it just becomes reward. But very good. I like the observations from all of you. I'm very happy with that. I'm happy with the observations. And then now, any questions in regards to anything whatsoever? Obviously, don't start asking me about the most irrelevant stuff. But yeah, Martin, was that a hand or was that just?
Yeah. I want to ask you questions. So first of all, the whole thing about the identity, the sheet of writing down the identity, Would you say it's good to read it like every day and remind yourself of who you are, who you want to be?
Look at this. So once more, I get all of my clients to do this. It's usually something that I get them to do within the first call, because it's very, very important that not only people get clear on who they want to be, you know, because a lot of people, they decide, okay, well, this is what I want out of life. This is what I want to achieve. But beyond that, it's important to understand, who do you want to be? Who? What type of person? Not what do you want to wear, not what life do you want, who, right? And I read this every day, and I get my clients to do the same. You can see, if I go on to my Notion here, you see, it's called Daily Promise. I'm going to read out some of them, right? So the red ones are ones that no matter what, I need to make sure like they're ingrained into my brain. They're so important. Like, for example, the red ones, I always reply fast to messages. I only eat whole food all weekdays. I always speak to new people I don't know. I never overthink a woman's opinion of me. I don't like watching porn. I love being relentless at what I do. Some of the green ones, they're like, I always keep my files and photos organized. I always speak positively to myself and others. I always say whatever I'm thinking to strangers. I never fear. I always follow my Google Calendar schedule. I don't doom scroll. I love working out. I love being bad at new things. I love being the best at all I do. And at the very bottom I have, I am the best living proof of what is possible. It's a betrayal to God to not live up to that. I have this for many reasons, and I read it every single day. And whether you do one for your life and overall, Alexander, I think you doing something very similar to that, where it's not just your work, that could be very, very beneficial. If anything, I think it could be beneficial for all of you. It's just important to get clear of, okay, well, if I'm struggling with my identity for work, it's important to get clear of who I am when I show up for work. But if you feel like it could be beneficial for all facets of your life, do that. And the reason why this is important, I'm going to explain this to you now. It's not once more just affirmations. It's not looking in the mirror and going, I'm the best. I'm so loved. I'm amazing. It's reinforcing within your brain who you want to be. Because let me use one of them as an example. I never fear a woman's opinion of me. I'll give you a live example. I was in a cafe the other day, and there was this Russian girl. She was beautiful. I later found out she was Russian, right? But they just have that look about them. She was, you know, a woman is so beautiful, it's almost intimidating, right? She was scary attractive. And I thought to myself, I want to talk to her. I sat down, I thought, no, she might think this. And I thought, you know what? And I remembered back to the document. I never fear what a woman thinks of me. I don't care about her opinion. So I stood up and I spoke to her. It's not about the approach. It's not about speaking to her. It's about the fact my brain had a reference point. My brain had something that could go, oh, actually, this is who you want to be. And over a long enough time frame, for the first week, for the first 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, it may just feel like, why am I reading this to myself? It may feel like I'm just trying to speak weird affirmations out loud. But eventually, these things you have written down will be so deeply ingrained within your brain that you have a reference point. That, for example, when you feel like, I don't want to do the work today, you go, no, actually, I love being relentless at what I do. Once more, that's another one of mine. If I ever feel like I'm pitying myself, and I feel like, oh, I have so many client calls today, so much back-end work to do, so much stuff to do. No, I love being relentless at what I do. I love being busy. I love doing all the stuff I know I need to do. Because I've ingrained this belief so deep into my brain, because I've repeated it day and night, every single day, every single week, every single month, that now this is who I am. This is the person I am. Because I've just repeated it so fucking much, my brain has no choice but to listen. You know, so very, very important. It's not about the act of just getting clear on who you want to be. It's about the repetition and ingraining it into your brain so deeply that whenever you feel like you're doing something that contradicts who you want to be, you're reminded of, no, this is who I am. This is who I want to be. And you're reminded of, actually, this is the person that I know I consciously want to become. So when you feel like not working, when someone feels like not doing something, or they feel like going against who they want to be, they remember this. They remember the thing they read out every day. And that's why I call it my daily promise, because it's a promise I make to myself. This is who I want to be. This is who I want to become. It can be whatever you want it to be. You know, for example, if you wanted really good six-pack, it could just be, I love doing the ab workout 3 times a day. I don't fucking know. It can be whatever you want it to be. You know, but it's about clarifying where you want to go, the clarity, the repetition, the outcome. That's why it's so important. But good question. I like that one.
Yeah.
But what if you fail them?
If you fail them, then you just try again the next day. At the end of the day, it's not about get clear, do them every day, you're suddenly perfect. No, you're going to fail many times. You're not going to live up to every single expectation for yourself every day. But if you repeat Pardon?
I'm just saying if you live up to them from the get-go, have not good expectations, then you want to become way better than yourself. So of course you got to set ambitious ones. You know, if you immediately achieve them. Yeah.
Exactly. You know, it's like one of them things where, for example, addiction. I struggled with quitting weed for years, but you know what helped me? Understanding the concept that I'm going to fail many times before I finally succeed indefinitely. Understanding that you're going to have to keep winning the same battles over and over again. So you're saying, what if I fail? You will fail. And you will fail again and again. But the fact you keep reminding yourself, the fact you keep getting up, that is what will get you to where you want to get to. Not never failing. Because failure is data. Data is where you learn. And to reinforce what you're saying, the whole premise of my business is constantly reviewing data. It's understanding the psychoeducation behind someone's brain, but constantly reflecting, analyzing the data behind why these failures occurred, why the successes occurred, but just taking it as data. So if you fail, no, not if you fail, when you fail. When you fail, reflect on your failures. Okay, why didn't I live up to my document today? Why didn't I do that? Why did that occur? Why did that thought occur? Why was I lazy today? Reflect on this stuff. And you will find you progress, not just as a setter, but as a man overall so much faster. But I like the question, bro. Many people say the same thing, but it's about embracing failure, not never failing. Because no one never fails. And if they say they don't, they're lying.
Understood.
Good one, bro.
Can I ask another one?
Of course.
I have a lot of questions. So one thing I want to ask is, you said to reward yourself with dopamine for doing the hard work. Do you think that's like unnecessary? Because I'm kind of like, and with my guys, they know me. Whenever I tell someone to like be disciplined, I just tell them, just grab your balls and be a man, and just like work through the pain. Like you said, just grind it out, rough it out. That's how I've always approached things. However, I'm not where I want to be at, you know. So I'm trying to think, is like gamifying and rewarding yourself and like putting like a hard task, like a dragon to slay to get the treasure, right? Is that a way to like increase your progress and like make yourself like progress faster?
You are always going to be so much better at something you enjoy. You know, so I'm not saying you don't enjoy the work. What I'm saying is what I have seen through many people, because I don't just work with people that want to be better. I work with business owners. I work with founders, people that make loads and loads of money in sales, people that do whatever else they're doing in life. A lot of these people have the same mentality, and it's not inherently flawed. It works for a lot of them. But I know it doesn't work for me, and there's many other people it doesn't work for. Maybe for a long time I thought it did. I thought, you know what, Leo, fuck you, just do the work. Just show up and do the work. And maybe it worked, but maybe I also felt really shit. Maybe I didn't enjoy the work as much as I needed to. And understand that if you enjoy something, you're going to go infinitely further than if you're just forcing yourself to do it. It's kind of the same as, say, for example, if you're going to the gym, right? And if you have a workout plan that you really hate, but it's a 7-day bodybuilder split, and you've got to do fucking, obviously no one should ever do this, but you've got to do fucking 15 exercises, 5 sets every day. You could drag yourself through all them sets and exercises. You can ensure that 7 days a week you're doing all the sets and exercises, but are you going to show up in the way you need to? Is the level of input and effort going to be exactly equivalent to if it was a workout plan you enjoyed and you were able to fully give 100% because you were fully present, you fully enjoyed the work, you fully enjoyed, you know, showing up to the best of your ability. So someone may go far if they show up every day and if they force themselves through the work, but you'll go so much further if you can ensure you're consistently in a good headspace and you're enjoying the work. You know, so once more, it's about what works for you. It's not about this system is what you need to follow. But if you feel like sometimes you're forcing yourself through the work and you're forcing yourself to be a man and just get it done, but you also feel like when you're being honest with yourself and when you're truly reflecting, you feel like I'm not enjoying this in the way I need to, or I'm not loving forcing myself through this in a way that you may not be able to see, it will affect your productivity. It will affect the level of, because you could work 16 hours a day. You can force yourself to work 16 hours a day, but you may get a lot more done working 8 hours a day and gamifying it. I'm not saying that's definitely the case because everyone's life is different, you know, but I'm sure you'd have the type of mindset where you can track that data yourself and reflect on it. But understand it's one of the things where a lot of people that are successful fall into that trap, force themselves to work harder, work longer hours, just keep pushing through it. But that's how you get to a point where you, one, either resent your work, or two, you're just not showing up at the level you need to. For example, I only take a certain amount of calls in a day. I could take a dozen calls in a day if I really wanted to, but I wouldn't because I know that yes, I could be present for them calls. Yes, I could show up, but would I show up with the same type of mentality that I have now? No. You know, so understand that the exact same is for your work. You know, in the same way that I only sort of position myself as, okay, I'm going to do a certain amount of calls because otherwise I won't show up at the intensity I need to show up. Think, okay, well, is that the same with my work? Do I really operate 100% efficiency by forcing myself to work longer hours and work harder? Or could it potentially be more beneficial if I worked less but worked more intensely and then leveraged dopamine by actually rewarding myself at the end of my work days? You know, so it's just something for you to reflect on yourself. Once more, bro, it's different from person to person. I can never tell you this is definitely going to work, this is definitely going to work, but it's something that I'd suggest trying out and playing around with.
I'll definitely try. It makes so much sense, and I feel like it could be like a big game changer for me. Because I'm a massive bone grinder. I'm a massive just stuff out, be a man, grab your ball sack. That's why I tell my guys all the time. But this is actually very smart. It sounds very good. I'm trying to make more progress. Like you're so right. It's not about just hours and quantity, about quality of work as well. Showing up with the right mindset and like being efficient. So yeah, that's actually smart. I just want to ask one last question. I'm sure it's not for me, it's for a bunch of the boys and the guys that are watching the recording. You said earlier, realize how valuable you are as a setter, right? And you said that way you feel more drive to send messages, right? How do you want to view it? What kind of like mental view do you want to have on it? Do you want to focus on it as like I'll get 5K a month if I view the business important, or do you want to see it from the lens of I want to become like a business partner to this business, become so invaluable, become like an asset, and grow a relationship like a partnership with the actual business? Or do you want to focus more on the like this is how I'll get 5K a month as a setter? Does that question make sense?
It makes sense. I'd say it's a mix of both, you know, because if you truly believe you are so valuable to this business, what will happen is two things. On one hand, you'll feel a closer connection to the business because you won't just feel like you're someone that's getting hired to send DMs. You won't just feel like you're there to collect a paycheck and reply to messages. You'll feel like, no, I'm part of this business. And subsequently, the people that are also running the business, they'll notice that. They'll sense it. They'll sense your hunger and drive and your energy because it will translate directly into your work because you see how valuable the work is that you do. But then also, as a caveat to that, what will happen? You'll make more money. It's inevitable, you know, because there's two versions of yourself. The version of yourself that shows up, but you think, oh, fuck this guy. I'm just a glorified contractor. I'm just getting paid to send DMs and whatever else. And then there's a version of you that thinks, no, I'm the oxygen for this business. I'm one of the pillars of the foundation at the bottom of this skyscraper. And if I fall, then the business falls. And I'm so valuable. And what that's going to do, that hunger, that drive, the way that you see your work, it's going to translate into the way you communicate with the business owner. It's going to translate into the way they perceive you. And it's also going to translate into your ethic, into your work, which makes you more money, builds you better connections, and eventually gets you better opportunities. With me and all my roles, besides maybe Martin Nyes, because initially we were working with a guy that was a bit of a bellend, every single person that I've ever worked for fucking loved me. They loved me, and that enabled me to get better opportunities. They didn't love me because on paper I was the specific best appointment setter. They loved me because I saw the value in the work I did, and I showed up with that hunger, with that drive, because I thought, you know what, the work I do is so important. And subsequently, I made more money. Subsequently, I made better connections. Subsequently, I got better roles. You know, so it's understanding, yes, okay, well, it's going to bring me close to the business owner, but it'll also earn me more money. So whatever lens people want to see it from, there is many positives that can be took away from seeing more value in the work you do. Many.
Right, great answer, bro. Boys, do you have any questions yourself? I've been asking all the questions here. Don't be shy. Any questions you have in your mind? New is an absolute G. He's here to answer.
No, that's it.
Yeah, I mean, I was gonna ask about the value in your work as well, but you pretty much answered to Martin's question. So, like, because I'm the type of person who, if I see something, you know, as valuable, and if I see me doing something as contributing to society or to whatever, or like just contributing to something, I love doing things that are important, and I've been like that since a kid, you know. So I'm just trying to always find a way to make what I'm doing seem more important than it is even sometimes.
Completely, bro. Completely. I think, once more, many people, they get this misconception that they're at the bottom of the food chain. I know it can seem like that. And to an extent, maybe that's partially true. Because yes, closers earn more money. Yes, business owners earn way more money. But they also are doing a completely different role. They have completely different skill sets. And once more, you are the star. you may be at the bottom of the food chain, but say this is the food chain. Just flip it this way, right? You, closer, business owner. Flip it this way. You, closer, business owner. Money, right? The money flows this way, not at the bottom of the food chain up. You see it as, okay, well, yes, I may be one of the initial parts of the business. Yes, I may be not earning as much money as them. But this is a prerequisite to me eventually maybe being a closer, maybe eventually being my own business owner, right? And once more, if you can see, okay, well, I'm the first touch point. I'm the first impression people have of the business. I'm the first, what's the word? I've lost the word, but once more, you're the oxygen. Without you, the closers don't make money, the business owner doesn't make money. Understand that if you randomly disappear off the face of the earth and they couldn't get another setter, they're fucked. They're fucked. It's just, there's so much value in the work you do. So much value. And as soon as you can change it from, I'm just a setter, or I'm at the bottom of the food chain, you can change it to, I'm the oxygen for this business, and I'm the first person that actually goes towards collecting money. Because once more, the closers and business owner make no money if you don't bring in the lead, if you don't nurture and qualify them. You're so important. You're so important. And the more value you tie to your work, because you see it from that perspective, once more, you'll be more enticed to want to work. It's basic.
Yeah, can I add on to that? For example, my brother, he's a closer manager, he's a closer himself. The business has got so much potential. The closers are really, really good. Like they've got some of the top sales talent. The offers got so much like potential, but they can't find a good setter. They've been looking for a month for a good set, and the business isn't doing the numbers it should be. And the biggest bottleneck is like they've got like so many good closers. Everyone's insane at sales, but they can't find a hardworking good setter. It's been a massive bottleneck. My brother's going through interviews every single day looking for one. He can't find it. And like he's always telling me, I will do anything just to get a killer dialer in place to dial leads and book them all in. Like exactly like he says, the business is not functioning right now without the oxygen, without the setters there. So keep that in mind as well when you're dialing. Same thing with your Aryan. You're in a team. You want to be like the biggest. Like let's say this is the oxygen tank. You want to be like filling up most of it, beating all the competition, being the best dialer on the team.
Yeah, that was my question. I also had that question. So right now, I'm in a company with 6 other setters. How do I become the top setter?
You believe you're the best and you prove it with your results. You just what?
Oh yeah, so I was struggling a bit. I had to fix skill work. Obviously, I had to fix my skill and my inputs. But now I think I can become the top setter. But how do I differentiate myself? How do I become the most oxygen, like take up all the oxygen in that space among all these other 6 setters?
Two things. One, impregnable self-belief and conviction. If you have so much fucking conviction in yourself and you're so hungry, that'll translate into your work. Martin, how did I show up when we were on our first interviews?
Yes, bro. This is the guy that was the best interview I ever taken. This guy just showed up, super fresh, super high energy. Bro, I'm the best that you ever hire. There's no better choice than me. I am absolutely a guy. Like he spoke with such conviction. And every time I threw some shitball curveball questions, I was shit testing him the whole time. Because me and my brother love to like test people in interviews. I threw him a bunch of weird questions to throw him off, take him off his grind. He just stayed down, had conviction. It doesn't matter. I'm your guy. I'm the best. And he said it. What conviction is when you say something and you believe it. It's because he's been doing the internal work outside of setting for the interview. He knows he's about. He knows when he promised himself he's going to go to the gym, he goes. He knows when he promised he's going to get results, he gets some results. So then he believes it. When he says it, you can feel the conviction. And I hired him like on the spot, literally. And I was like laughing. I literally hung up. I was looking at my brother. That was a fucking insane interview. Like that was like the best interview I've ever taken. That's what impressed me about Nero so much.
Was that the offer when he didn't make money for 3 months?
No, another offer. Another offer.
This game.
Yeah.
But look,
Yes.
I'm so glad you said that because my second point is if you want to be the best, you have to be the best when you're not setting. You truly have to be the best outside of this. If you want, you can go onto my YouTube and there's an hour-long call that I did for the RGS community where I went through why your Loom videos aren't converting and how to speak with so much conviction no one ever ignores you again. That is a whole hour-long group call where I deep dive into how congruency outside of work directly affects the work you do. But obviously we don't have another hour now, but what I'll say to you is, trust me, if you feel like, okay, I'm doing everything I can as a setter, I feel like I'm doing everything I can with my skill set, with my work ability, look at what you do outside of work. Look at how you spend the rest of your time. Because if you're not spending it as the top 1% performers, you're not going to show up as that. Because I can guarantee you, the reason why I would always speak with so much conviction is because outside of work, I know I'm that fucking guy. And that's not coming from a place of blind ego. That's not coming from a place of, oh, I'm a narcissist and I just think I'm better. I know that I put in so much work when people aren't looking. I know I put in so much work outside of appointment setting that when I do appointment setting, I just naturally am the best. And I believe I am. And that belief, once more, directly translates into my work. So what I'll do, I'll send the video to Martin. If you can send it in the group chat, I'd appreciate it. Anyone that wants to work on your conviction, your congruency out of work, that wants to develop a level of self-belief that's so impregnable, people can't choose to ever ignore you. People cannot ever ignore the level of belief you show up with. And once more, that will get you the results you want. So if you want to understand how to do that in a longer, in-depth video, then I'll make sure I send that over.
My boys.
Okay, so would you say it all boils back down to thinking and operating and making decisions based on the mindset of someone who's already where you're at? So let's say I want to be a 6K month setter. Would you say every decision I have to make, I have to think it through and run it through a system of would the 6K per month version of me do this or not?
What do you think the answer to that question is?
Yes.
Exactly. Why?
Because to become the person you want, you have to think and operate from his mindset, and you have to destroy the person you are.
Exactly. Look, I go into this in the deep dive call. That's a perfect point to make. Look, if you want to be making however much money a month, you know, for example, say I want to be making 20K a month with my business, right? Personal profit. Would that version of me that's making 20K a month take 5 days off a week, you know, watch porn 3 times a day, scroll on his phone all the time? Probably not. I could probably still do the exact same amount of work that he does, but will I make the same money? No, because I'm not that same person. So the point is, actually, I'll say this really quickly. With my business, with anyone I take on board, high achievers, business owners, people in sales, people that know they want to understand their brain, they want to, you know, live up to their potential. That's my whole premise. We help you live up to your potential, you know, through guided reflection, through AI analysis, whatever else. But the whole premise, the core focal point is getting you very clear on who you want to be and helping you gain the understanding of yourself to get there. And the reason why I say that is because the first sessions we ever have with clients, they're not, okay, let's start doing this. Let's get very clear on who you want to be. Let's get very, very certain on the person you want to be. Because once you have that certainty of, okay, this is who I want to be, you can start thinking through the lens of what would he do. Not because I want you to manifest a better mindset, not because, you know, I just want you to think in a more successful way, but because when you understand who you want to be, you can align your actions with that. And when you align your actions, your external world finally catches up. So once more, if you want to be the best setter, if you want to earn 6K a month, you must do the things that version of you does. What are things you're doing right now that you know could make you more disciplined, could make you feel better, could make you a better man overall? What could you do? Because that will directly translate into your work every time.
Very well said, bro. This was a banger call with so much value. Like, this is like a life-changing call, bro. I'm gonna make, oh my god, I didn't show. First of all, fuck them, and secondly, after doing that, now we have to rewatch it. Actionable task, everyone's gonna have to write out that promise and send in the group chat. That's very important. I'll do the same as well.
Good.
So this is life-changing, bro. Thanks so much for hosting the call.
Yeah, appreciate it.
Thank you, Neil. You're a G, man. Appreciate it.
It's been a pleasure. Martin, please, if you drop my Instagram in the chat, anyone's welcome to message me with any questions whatsoever at any point in time. And it's been a pleasure. I'm sure we'll speak again. Yeah?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Thank
Take
you
care
very
of
much.
yourself.
Have a blessed day.
Bye bye. Have a good one, guys.
Bye bye. Have a blessing.